This study is all about a study that suggests 5 crucial factors for peace interventions. And so this study kind of revolves around kind of what the enabling and motivating personality factors that affect peaceful behavior are, and then how to use those behaviors as kind of goals and I guess kind of markers when you're developing peaceful interventions or peaceful or educational interventions about how to lead more peaceful lives. And so that's kind of what the questions here are about. And this was a literature review that was created by examining 80 past research studies and other sources. And then the framework for this review rests heavily on Walter Mischel's cognitive social learning and then Albert Bandura's social cognitive theory. The author presented several factors that contribute to someone constituting the description of a peaceful person. And for this review, a peaceful person is defined as someone who exhibits a consistent pattern of nonviolent and harmonious attitudes, states, and behaviors across many different situations. And so after analyzing what past research has to say about this, the author first explained the importance of educational interventions focusing on the 3 domains of intrapersonal peace, interpersonal peace, and intergroup, not conflict, but peace. The main reason why he pointed this out is that first, peacefulness is valued in each of these stages, each of these domains, but also peacefulness in one domain affects peacefulness in the other domains. So interpersonal peace will affect interpersonal peace. Interpersonal peace can affect both intergroup and interpersonal peace. And so neglecting one really kind of nullifies the effectiveness of the educational interventions. So that's kind of why he started us out looking at these 3 domains. And then after looking at that, he proposed 5 factors that should be important to consider in developing peaceful people. And within these 5 factors are more specific kind of factors as well. So the 5 factors are competencies, self-regulatory dispositions, perceptual constructs and dispositions, motives and values, and then outcome expectations. And so under competencies are things including problem-solving ability and conflict resolution ability, which is partially where we fit in. Under the self-regulatory dispositions, you have affect and emotional regulation and mindfulness, which is obviously, going back to those 3 domains, going to be helpful in any of them. But I feel like personally, when I see this, I think of the interpersonal domain. Perceptual constructs and dispositions, you have identification with humanity, how strongly this person identifies with or sees kind of a common human lens when they're interacting with others and viewing themselves. And then self-efficacy beliefs, how able are you to, what is your ability like to change your thinking, change your life, to act and make a good, peaceful contribution to the world. And then perspective taking disposition, your ability to perspective take. Under motives and values, you have the concern for well-being of others, which is pretty self-explanatory. Universalism versus power values. And this is specifically, there's a specific study and metric that is used to define different contributing factors that constitute universalism versus power values. And they find that universalism, which I can read a couple of these here, but universalism is kind of what the name implies, is like protecting the environment, unity with nature, a world of beauty, broad-minded, wisdom, equality, a world at peace and inner harmony. Whereas power values are things like social power, authority, wealth, preserving public image, and social recognition. So that's universalism versus power values. And then rejection of revenge norms, you're rejecting the idea of revenge, utilizing revenge in situations of conflict. Then finally, outcome expectations. There's a belief in efficacy of peaceful actions, that peaceful actions are effective and can positively contribute to your life. And then there's a hope for peace, hope that, similar to the efficacy, that hope that peace can make a difference and that it will happen, and that it's almost like, it seems to me almost like an optimistic outlook on viewing life. And so another thing that, in addition to these 5 factors, the author focused on how knowledge can manifest in all of these factors. And kind of, he actually featured one study that suggests that peace interventions that focus on motivation and mindsets are sometimes more effective than those focused on skills. And this is specifically had to do with adolescents, because this study mainly addresses students and the educational systems. And so an example he gives a few times around is just that knowledge about, how there's structural inequality, or maybe there's policies that contribute to that. If you didn't have the knowledge that exists and how that comes to exist, there would be, you'd have a better understanding of how to make peace in those situations, knowing how those kind of things form and how it exists in a specific organization. So that's kind of, I think, where he's coming at with the whole knowledge idea. And then finally, he focused quite a bit on effective interventions. And one that he specifically focused on was social and emotional learning, which is used in a number of schools. And as actually there's a few organizations that specifically target social and emotional learning at schools across the United States. And I think they were saying how there's bipartisan support for this type of learning within schools as a method of essentially just it's addressing these factors above for students, how to engage in conflict resolution and all of this different stuff. And so ultimately, the author advocated for greater research, but noted these positive, effective interventions that are being used. So key takeaways from this are the different, I think, factors that should be important in establishing these peaceful interventions. And then also understanding those 3 dimensions of interpersonal, intrapersonal, and intergroup peace as methods of, for us, I think, establishing, different training or promoting kind of ways that things that organizations should keep an eye out for when they're coming up with ways to create a more peaceful workplace. So that's what we have for this one.
It's a great list. I mean, I think it might be even good to write like a sort of normal SEO article on it, and just the 5 areas to help create peace or something like that, just for lay people. Yeah,
that's the plan.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, because I don't see anything in here that I would disagree with in terms of like being an important part of building a peaceful person. And he's suggesting that you sort of looking at each of these dimensions and their sub, sort of each of these variables and the sub variables across 3 different categories: intra, inter, and intergroup.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Yeah, I think it has potential for being a good guideline for people to, personally, you have the interpersonal aspect, but personally in your own life, utilizing some of these and recognizing, where maybe I might be lacking and maybe things that I'm not doing as well, and how to build a more peaceful life off of that. And then also for workplaces and organizations on a more a group level, being able to use these as kind of guideposts in creating your peaceful educational interventions.
You could create a training out of this for sure,
Right.
Spend 30 minutes on each bullet point or something.
Yeah.
Just as like a quick overview, just give them some easy exercises.
Right.